let's move on. So this week, actually, this happened last week. Right after I went off the air last Sunday night, a YouTube comment came on a video that we had posted about Arcade1up and about the OutRun cabinet that I built. And this comment was from Kirby Dinobot, which is an awesome name, says OutRun now has 5 games. Because I had actually talked about how it has, and I showed off the 4 games, and he's like, hey, this has 5 games now. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about, Kirby Dinobot? So I went and looked, and sure enough, last Sunday, Arcade1up said, we have a firmware upgrade. It is great. A firmware upgrade for the Arcade1up OutRun cabinet that adds a 5th game. And Pod Culture is going to be like, yes, it's Spy Hunter. No, it's not Spy Hunter, because Spy Hunter was not a Sega game, and this has to be a Sega game. So I was like, awesome. And so I was like, great. So what do I need to do? Because I did notice there was a USB port when I was putting together the cabinet. Here's where it went south. So the first thing that you have to realize is that it is a micro USB port, which is USB Type B. USB Type A is the big one. That's the one that you have ports on your computer for or stuff like that. USB Type C is what your phone has nowadays if you don't have, an Apple product. If you have a product that, like the rest of us, that can't afford Apple products, it's USB Type C is what you have now. But Arcade1up wants USB Type B, and the instructions are it needs to be a USB stick. So, I went to Best Buy, and I was like, I need to get a USB stick that works with micro USB. And I've looked and I don't see it, but I found it like on their app. On the app, I'm like, oh, they've got like 3 available here. So I'm just, going to go in here and pick one up. It's not on the shelf. And then I talk to somebody and I'm like, I am looking for, they make these USB sticks that have a micro USB out as well as a regular USB out. And he's like, he looks and it turns out like the one they had, somebody had just reserved online earlier and it wasn't me. So maybe it was somebody else that had an Arcade1up OutRun cabinet that needed to get this USB stick. And then he took me over to the mobile phone section. He pulled out this cord. And he's like, look, sir, all you need to do is you plug this end into your computer and you plug this end in your phone, and you're going to be able to drag and drop whatever you need to your phone. And I looked at it, and I looked at him, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work. He's like, no, I promise you it's going to work. And so I told him, no, I am updating an OutRun updating an Arcade1up arcade cabinet that needs a firmware upgrade, which is you put a bin file on a FAT32 formatted USB stick and you stick it in the machine, and then it upgrades it, but it needs to be a micro USB and not a regular USB. And he looked at me and he said, I have no clue what you just said, but if you don't think this is going to work for you, then I'm afraid I can't help you. And it just totally blew his mind what I was talking about. Like I was talking like in a foreign language or something. But he did say, go up to the Staples because they deal with more ancient technology. So I went over to the Staples because, they sometimes work with stuff that's a little bit older. And I did find the last dual USB stick, micro B and USB Type A, 32 gig in the area. And so what it actually has is it's got a little cover here, but one side is the USB Type A, and on the other side is the micro USB. So so I finally got this thing, and it's really tiny, but it is obviously, it's got to have the width for the regular USB as well as the micro USB. And so I got it in, and it was already formatted for FAT32, so I just dragged the 8 megabyte bin file to the root directory, and I was like, great, Time to go, right? Fifth Dream said, I would have just gotten an adapter. Well, guess what? They didn't have those because it's micro USB and they don't, Best Buy doesn't deal with micro USB anymore. Everything's USB Type-C. If it was USB Type-C, I would have been fine. So, that should be easy, right? Because the instructions are just insert it and go, right? Well, let's see how that worked out. So here I am in the video, and this is going to be posted to YouTube. So hello, YouTube. Pulling the seat out and putting the pedals on inside. And if you're watching on the video, you're going to notice like there's a screw down on the carpet that's actually from the underside of the seat, and I didn't see it until I was putting everything back. I thought it had fallen off like at the very end, but no, it's actually just sitting there the whole time, and I didn't see it until I was editing this video. But here I am unplugging the cabinet from the wall and unscrewing the back, the kind of the brown portion that kind of hides the electronics. And it has some vents and stuff like that. And here I am pulling it out. So the instructions are you put the USB stick into the cabinet. Well, there's a problem here. Because I bought a USB stick that's wide enough to be a USB Type-A, it didn't exactly want to fit in. Because they put the micro USB port right next to the power port. So I even try, like, I unplug the power cord, and then I can get the USB stick in, I think. And then, but I can't plug the power port back in because the USB stick is covering up where the power port would go in. Because I don't know why. I don't know why. And so, I mean, and I was finally able to get things to fit, kind of. And I pull the stick back out, and I try to put it back in. I try to put them in a different thing. And Podculture says, hot knife and trim the excess plastic off. I don't want to deal with hot stuff. I'm not a modder. I'm not like that. But I finally kind of get it in, and I'm like, oh, I think it's secure, but no, it's kind of at an angle. And I'm like, this kind of sucks. So, after this, hunt for this unicorn of a USB stick, and the port's just way too close to get anything in, but at the same time. So I think I get it in, but you can kind of see in the video, it's kind of, at an angle. So I turn around, reposition the camera, and I turn on the cabinet. And from everything I see on the internet, it doesn't actually give you any kind of visual indication that you've done it right or anything like that. So you just turn it on. And if it worked, then you're going to have a fifth game on your OutRun cabinet that initially had 4 games. And the first time I did it, there's only 4 games. So off camera, I'm not taking the camera back and forth. I go back and I, try to, take it out and put it back in and, all that stuff. So attempt number 2 comes up and we try it again. And nothing happens. It goes back to the main menu. And I'm like, okay, third time is the charm. So I go back behind. I, try to get things a little bit more straight, whatever. And I'm like, third time's the charm, right? Because I've done everything right. It's a FAT32 formatted USB stick. There's nothing else on it. The bin file's in the root directory. It should just work. And Zen Monkey says you need to hook it up to a clock tower in the middle of a thunderstorm. No, but I did tweet. I did actually make a tweet after the third attempt saying, so far, no good. And, so always after the tweet, you try one more time. Because really, tweeting about the problem and being angry about the problem, for some reason, actually does some good. And even Fifth Dream says this is where cursing loudly solves everything. And I gotta say, somehow, the 1.21 gigawatts of frustration that Crustbuster says in chat gave me my 5th game. I am so excited. Now I finally have the 5th game. So, how do you know if it worked? If you have this cabinet, what you're going to notice, there is one little visual indication. And that is that the black screen after the copyright on the Arcade1up copyright that comes up stays black for just a couple of seconds longer than if you do not have the USB stick attached. It takes about 4 or 5 seconds to actually install the firmware. Then you can take it right back out, take the stick back out, put everything together. You don't need to keep the USB stick in there, but you can see I finally got it in. So now I've got this in, and I'm going to actually turn down the volume a little bit. But the settings screen for Rad Rally, which is the new game, they have several different Bobby Blackwolf modes available. First thing I do is I'll turn the scan lines off, but the difficulty goes from 1 to 16. It defaults at 8. So Bobby Blackwolf put it at 1. He turns the scan lines off because I don't like scan lines. Some people might. The transmission you can have manual or automatic, but it's just a 2-speed, so it's pretty easy. And it also has the gear indicator that's put up on the screen. And the timer, you can set anywhere from 65 seconds to 85 seconds. It defaults to 75. So obviously, I set it to 85 seconds because I'm me and I don't got time for that. So Rad Rally, it's the sequel to Rad Mobile. And I think the reason they didn't use Rad Mobile for this is because it has like a Sonic the Hedgehog thing, and that license is expensive, more expensive than the OutRun license. And Arcade1up probably didn't want to have to pay for the Sonic the Hedgehog license to have Rad Mobile. So Rad Rally is a point-to-point race with 2 checkpoints in between. So there's 3 legs, and that's it. And it's in a first-person perspective, and you're racing. And you're not even racing. You're racing the clock. You're racing the timer, and it's can you get to the next leg before the time runs out? And it takes about 3 minutes to complete a course if you're good and not like me, hitting the sides over and over again. But there's other traffic on the screen, so there's cars going with you. There's cars on the other side of the road going against you. You really don't want to hit them. And then there's a car marked special that I see here. Now, this is what we're actually seeing here is the first time I'm playing the game. But I noticed that because of my difficulty level, I can catch up to that special car, and then he gets super aggressive. He turns into that super aggressive drivatar that you're used to with Forza Horizon. That's what he turns into, he or she. It could be a she in there. But there's a lot of rubber band AI, but it might be because of the difficulty setting. And then if you hit a car coming at you, you crash, and then you get to start over again. Breakman says, LOL, Bobby can't drive Wolf. That's right. And Orange Right says, if I recall correctly, Rad Mobile also had windshield buttons. Not sure if this game cabinet had it. The Arcade1up, it doesn't. Even though there are unused buttons, it has the little music selection button, which, notice, there's no music. All you're hearing, this is it. The music is on the main menu and not on the selection, the track selection, and then like in the cutscene at the very end. But there's no music while you're playing. So, but this is the game. So there's rubber band AI with the special car, but that might be because I'm at difficulty 1 out of 16 instead of 8. But I can catch up to him just fine. And then he basically starts crashing into me, and he won't stay behind me, and it's terrible. It's rubber banding until I get up to him, and then it's like, okay, now I'm going to hurt you. And he'll knock you into other traffic and stuff like that. So there are 4 different courses. This is, I believe, the sunset course, but they've got one that takes place in snow, one takes place at night, and one that takes place in the rain. And the course changes for each leg, so like it'll be actually snowing for one leg, but not for the next. But this is Rad Rally. This is basically it. It's a point-to-point race. you're kind of facing that special person, and I bet something cool happens if you beat the special car. But I'm never gonna beat the special car. Pod Culture asks, does the Star Wars cabinet have a USB port? I forget. It does not. The USB port is a new addition to this. I believe the most recent Pac-Man cabinet has it, because there also has been a firmware upgrade for the 40th anniversary Pac-Man Arcade1up. But I don't, and I think some of the others have it too. I think all the recent ones do, but not the Star Wars one. I know that. So don't expect a firmware update for that, but you could always just mod it. People have modded it and put a Raspberry Pi in there, and then you don't need an official upgrade. I don't upgrade my cabinets. I am perfectly fine with having the stock cabinets or whatever official upgrades come out. I'm not interested in hacking these. So in this video, I run out of time. Game over. The cop comes up, and he's mad at you. What's the big idea? He smashes the hood of your car. It's not that great. Now, I did actually beat it and actually make it to the end, and this little cutscene shows saying you can't catch him.
You'll never catch me.
Yeah, we'll never catch him, will we? And I think that's the special car talking to you. That and like we have the Statue of Liberty for whatever reason. I guess because it takes place in New York. I don't know. So, that is Rad Rally. And it's not as fun as the other ones, but I love the fact that we got a free game. And I know it's not Spy Hunter. I'm sorry. But that upgrade process is crappy. I think I would have been better off finding the cable that had a micro USB male with a USB Type A female, so I could plug in a USB stick into the one side and then use the cable, which would not interfere. It wouldn't be too wide, and it wouldn't interfere with anything anyway. So SJRNMat says, seems like a fine throw-in game for test of a service. And I'm good with that. I will say, I believe the NBA Jam cabinet is actually Wi-Fi enabled because you can play that one online. So I believe it gets firmware updates over the air with Wi-Fi. But this one, since they didn't put the Wi-Fi in it because that costs money, they did the USB thing. But I really wish it was a regular USB port and it wasn't so close to the power port. That would have made it a whole lot easier to upgrade, a whole lot less frustrating. It took me 4 tries to get the USB stick to have a good enough of a connection to be able to upgrade, because I happen to get a USB stick that's a little bit wider, and I'm not going to sit here and Dremel a USB stick like some people probably think I should, because I don't care that much.